Two past champions have already fallen. Ralf Suke has won this event a record-breaking 6 times, but last year's champion went out to Mateusz Nigotsky, playing in his home country. India's Raj Hundal put up a fight against Alex Pagulayan, but the 2005 champion couldn't tame the Lion from Canada. Mika Immonen fought back from 7-3 down against Polish #1 Radoslav Babica to take their match to a final frame decider. The Iceman's fluke on the 6-ball clinched his quarter-final spot. Kelly Fisher made her own comeback against former champion Denis Orkolo, but the only lady in the field was KO'd by Robocop. And last time out, two bright talents in the world of pool gave us an entertaining battle on the bays. It went right to the wire between Ko Pin Yi and Wojciech Szewczyk, with the Pole taking it 8-7. Over half the first round matches played, and there's been some incredible performances, particularly from the Polish players who are relishing playing in their home country. Mateusz Nigotsky knocked out the defending champion Ralf Suke, and last time out, 19-year-old Wojciech Szewczyk beat Ko Pin Yi in an 8-7 thriller. Alex Pagulayan, Mika Immonen and Denis Orkolo also through to the quarterfinals. Coming up now, it's Nick van den Berg against the first Middle Eastern player to participate in the Masters, Omar Shaheen.
It would be very nice to have a very big tournament on my resume, and I finished second 3 years ago in Vegas. That was the last time I played in the Masters. I think I got quite unlucky in that final, but yeah, this is a new tournament. It's only 4 matches to win this title, and I think anything can happen.
I'm very excited to play World Pool Master. It's a big chance. I'm very happy. I want to enjoy and play my style in pool.
This is a very big day in the life of Omar Shaheen, the first player from the Middle East to take part in the Invitation World Pool Masters. What an honour for him. What an honour for all of us here, because he's turning out to be quite a talent. Reaching the last 16 of the World 9-ball championship. He can play. Yes, of course, Nick van den Berg has to be regarded as the favourite, but he's by no means a certainty.
Nick van den Berg looking to make a good start,
Van den Berg to break.
To maximize pressure right from the get-go and have Omar second-guessing all of his shot selections.
They call Shaheen the Rocket Kid. He's only just celebrated his 19th birthday. He is the junior member of this 16-man field, the youngest player here. But proud to represent Kuwait, proud to represent the entire region. And I think Alex's initial nerves are inevitable.
Cue ball was on the rail. It's excusable, but what a chance he had here to draw first blood, to at least get some table time.
Alex, you've got a very deep knowledge of all of the players involved in this tournament. But of course, as a fellow Dutchman, you know Nick van den Berg particularly well.
Well, we only met in competition about 200 times. So it's all relative, but yeah, I know Nick. I know his game very well. I like his game a lot. He's a very intelligent, clever player and can play with a lot of feel. Has a really nice touch. Hardly ever practices. Well, what he does actually is at home, sitting, relaxing, and then practicing in his head. Just visualizing him playing in competition.
Always seems to me a very intense individual. Certainly when he's out there on the match table.
Yeah, that's the way he approaches every shot. But mind you, when he relaxes, when he's playing at home, when he's freewheeling, he looks as natural as anyone.
And you have to think the beeps there influenced that mistake. Just as he got down, they came in. He decided to play the shot anyway, rather than take his 35-second extension, which of course he's allowed every rack. And maybe that decision will come back to bite him. Thankful here for the intervention of the 8-ball.
Good hit by Omar. Would have liked to hide the 4 behind the 695. So the initiative still to Nick van den Berg, but at least he escaped and not giving an open shot to Nick. That's a bad shot, and I suspect Nick is trapped a little by being drawn against Omar in this first round. You know, you have to respect every player in the field, but without being disrespectful towards Omar, he's not a champion. He's a big talent in the game, but he's not a champion like Orkolo, Pegulayan, so that does something to the mindset of Nick. Misplaying that safety and missing the 4-ball earlier, for me is a sign that Nick is lacking total focus at this moment.
Extension.
And we've seen in this tournament already that it's dangerous to take your foot off the throat of an opponent, metaphorically. Radislav Babitsa, 7-3 up on Mika Immonen, lost 8-7. Dennis Okolo came through in the end, but he was 5-1 up on Kelly Fisher, only won 8-6. The guard cannot be dropped.
Four to be placed in the middle of the short rail. That's elementary, to not leave a shot to Nick, and then the bonus would be to hide the cue ball behind the 8. He's not behind the 8, but at least the 8-ball's covering one long rail. So if Nick cannot hit the 4 directly, he will need the other long rail, where the 7 is posing some problem. Needs to come over the side pocket. Oh, beautifully played. It's a very tough shot to judge. One rail, approximately 45 degrees coming into the rail. There's a lot of slide. On that sort of kick shot, the difference between the TV table and the club table is the biggest. window of opportunity for Omar between the 5 and 6. Wants to hit 3/4 ball, because that will squat the cue ball where the 4 is now.
Now is the gap there? The way you reeled away from the table, I would think it might be.
Natural path seems to be towards where the cue ball is now. Short reel, long reel.
Well, having missed the pot like that, fluking it in the diagonally opposite pocket.
He was not ready to shoot that shot. He hasn't found his rhythm yet. And I expect him to be worried, actually. Even though he still made the ball, he fluked it. Worried about the reason why he missed it. And the way in which he missed it.
Nick van den Berg starting out on a road where he's trying to emulate the man sitting to my left-hand side. The only Dutch player to win the World Pool Masters, Alex Lely.
Needs to hit the rail.
Foul shot. Ball in hand.
So the momentum and initiative in this first rack going back and forth. And 5 open shots to Nicky to settle down, calm his nerves. And calibrate his alignment.
Well, it's been a fragmentary opening rack, but they all count the same. There'll be a few niggling negatives for Nick van den Berg after this. But of course, winning it is the overriding positive. Lots of power there, and the rack pretty much in his pocket. Indeed, it's 1-0 to the Dutchman over the teenager, but in that rack he was not the Flying Dutchman, not by any means. We'll be back with more pool action from Kielce in Poland after the break. Welcome back to Kielce in Poland, home of the ClubWPT.com World Pool Masters. Nick van den Berg has settled into this match after a scrappy first rack, taking down racks 2 and 3 against Kuwait's Omar Al-Shaheen. And that's why the scoreline is all one way.
Rack 4, Nick van den Berg to break, leading by 3 racks to 0.
For quite some time now, there's been a thriving pool scene in the Netherlands. Nick van den Berg is one of the many products of that country who's played at the very highest level of the game. And in this match so far, he's looking the part. Well, the 2-ball potted there, but the requisite number of 3 balls either potted or across the head string not arrived at. In fact, the only ball that went across the head string was the one that went in.
Omar considering a two-way shot, banking the 1-ball back up table and playing a possible carom on the 9. It's very hard to come close to making the 9 and controlling the 1. Might be too opportunistic. So he came close to making the 9, but he hasn't taken as much control of the situation as he could have.
And there you can see a goodly portion of the 1-ball poking out. The 3 is only partially blocking it.
Two-way shot for Nick now. If Omar can see a part of the 1, and it's very difficult to avoid the scratch in the side pocket, so he's now looking at a 2-rail kick shot. Big chance of resaving Nick here. Too soft.
Oh, shot.
And that's a foul. That's all experience, Phil. He played the right shot, but with the wrong speed. He gave back a push out, the kick shot on a 1-ball before. So it's not that he's missing shots, he's pocketing. If only he gets a chance.
Now this is interesting. I think for the first time in the tournament, Michaela Tabb has been called into action to clean the cue ball. She's well used to this on the snooker circuit, of course, because players have become paranoid about kicks.
Well, if you're paying the rent in this game with your results, then you need to be paranoid about a bad contact. Humidity, static electricity, or a bad stroke, a de-accelerating delivery can cause a kick. But Nick recovered well here after being a little too straight on a 3. This sort of shot on the 5, to me, shows the difference between top and below top players. To spin the ball, to time the cue action, and land in open space. Many players are able to cross the table there with that angle, but to kill the speed as nicely as Nick has done, that's class. Wanted to be straight on the 7. Up to the short rail, and with a trace of right spin, go to the right side of the table, but he's a little paranoid, as you might say, for the side pocket. Does not want to overhit it. And the fear of overhitting will cause an underhit at times. Maybe 3 rails. Oh, perfectly. If it stops. I'm sure most of the professionals, many professionals, would have swung the cue ball around playing with high left. But that's at home. They like to keep it simple here in the pit.
And now the 9 ball down the side rail, and Nick van den Berg will tighten his grip on the contest.
Not on the cue, Phil.
Hopefully not. As sweet as you like. Composed and confident. Omar Al Shaheen continues to draw a blank here, because Nick van den Berg has now forged into a 4-0 lead.
No. Rack 5, Nick van den Berg to break, leading by 4 racks to 0.
Well, the way forward for Nick van den Berg is more of the same, please. Halfway towards a place in the quarterfinals. As yet, he has just not been tested.
Foul shot.
Might be now, though. A scratch off the break. The ball's spread far and wide. Ball in hand for Omar Al Shaheen. He will not get a better chance than this to break his duck.
2-9. Inviting Omar to make it a brief rack.
Why clear the table when you can do something like that and win a rack instantaneously? The 2-9 combination. And at the very least, Omar Al Shaheen knows after that he will not be suffering the dreaded whitewash. Welcome back to Poland for the 20th season of the ClubWPT.com World Pool Masters. Q8 Omar Al Shaheen has closed the gap, taking another 2 racks. It's a hat-trick of success for Omar Al Shaheen. But a mistake on the green in rack 8 let van den Berg back in to put the Dutchman 2 racks ahead. Will the pendulum swing back towards Nick van den Berg? Okay, now he's got his opponent down. He wants to give him a metaphorical kick. Well, 2 balls in. It's not an illegal break, but no clear path to the red 3.
Interesting to see that Nick has shifted. Starts breaking from the other side, from the left side. For us, the right side of the table. On the first day of this championship, the other side was the best side to break from, but it's possible that due to conditions, external conditions, the weather, the rack, whatever, that this has shifted.
And when it comes to the mystery of the break-off, tiny little differences can make immense alterations in the way you should approach it.
Depends on which referee puts the balls. It's never in exactly the same spot. Even if the numbers on the balls are touching each other, the rack will react different. Humidity, I don't understand how Omar gave this shot back. All credit, he has a lot of potential, but here, on this push out, he could play the same shot. Difficult to play a dynamite, a killer safety, an aggressive safety, but at least he could have put Nick in the same spot.
And Al Shaheen has misjudged a couple of push-outs already in the match, so maybe Vandenberg thought, he might put me back in here and I fancy the shot myself anyway. Double bluff.
I coach youngsters in Holland also, and as much as they want to make hours on the table, I advise them to also put some time in just watching the professionals on YouTube, on videos. To be a student of the game and not only pocket balls. Five is blocked by the 7. And I don't see a good kick shot here, so I thought about a hit and hope, hitting hard. But he's going to jump. Needs to fly high and far to come over the 6.
A delightful deflection. 3 off the 4. The pendulum swings again.
Extension.
Now just to repeat, as we've been doing all the way through the tournament, every match is played under a 35-second shot clock, and in every rack, both players are allowed one each, a 35-second extension. Omar Al Shaheen has elected to take his right here.
Looks good. Oh, that's a great shot. That's a great shot. It's easier on a club table because the right spin will accelerate the cue ball more. Still tricky because he will collide with the 7. And needs to avoid that corner pocket. Cannot play with stun or draw, it seems.
Foul shot, ball in hand.
That's the 3rd time he's done it in this match. Failed to hit a cushion, and when you do that, it's foul shot and ball in hand. What a terrible mistake. Born from inexperience.
This was an amazing positional shot. And actually, having placed the cue ball there, I would have liked him to attack. Play with topspin, find some way to force the position.
Well, again, what a gift for Nick Vandenberg. One he could not have expected. Not a cueing mistake from Omar Al Shaheen. A mental mistake.
It's just knowledge what he is lacking. Can't blame him. He is from Kuwait, even though the game is developing in the Middle East. It's still primitive, we can say. Not many champions to learn from.
Towards the end of its journey there, I think Nick Vandenberg was a little concerned that the cue ball might overrun. It's not ideal, but it's okay.
Extension.
And having not used his extension, why not take it?
I think he wants to come around the 9. Rather a little more authority than softer.
Yes, it's there, and rack number 9 presented to Nick van den Berg on a silver platter. A mental aberration from Omar Shaheen, and with that, van den Berg moves within 2 racks of a place in the quarterfinals of the Club WPT.com World Pool Masters.
Rack 10, Nick van den Berg to break, leading by 6 racks to 3.
It's quite conceivable that this match could be a whole lot closer. Just novice errors from Omar Shaheen. He spotted well. He did miss one bad 6-ball. But more importantly, in the scheme of things, have been his tactical misjudgments, his mental thought process. And you know, sooner or later, a player of van den Berg's experience is going to take advantage. A crunching break, Alex Lely, but nothing really gained.
He does see a part of the 2-ball, cannot make it. And in most conditions, the player would be anxiously looking for offensive opportunities or offensive safety opportunities.
Push out.
But Nick, having won every safety battle after a push out with ease, has no concerns here to play the push and use experience as his weapon. It's a slight swerve he needs to come around to 6. And if he misses it thick, it'll be safe with the 7 and 9. Most obvious safety, the cue ball behind the 9 and the 2-ball towards the 8. Bank it in between the 5 and 8.
It would be really good for Q Sports if Omar Shaheen developed into one of the world's leading players. Lots of money, lots of interest in the game, not just in pool but also in snooker in that part of the world. And if they got a really good player who was capable of winning the tournaments at the very highest level, I think that would take all of Q Sports into a new dimension.
For the first time in this match, Omar's safeties pay dividend.
Just talking there about Middle East Q Sports, Alex, you'll know this, that the world amateur champion at the moment is from Iran. Hossein Vafi Ayuri, also a teenager who's had a few forays into the major professional events as a wild card, and he looks pretty useful. And snooker in Iran is immensely popular, with Ronnie O'Sullivan a particular star out there. He's never played in that country, of course, but David Rowe, who used to be a member of the world's top 16 in snooker, went out there to coach. And he's told us stories about how clubs out there have got multiple tables with huge posters of O'Sullivan everywhere. They really do love the old 15 Reds game. A little further south, in lands like Qatar, Kuwait, Dubai, the United Arab Emirates in general, pool is equally popular. And I suppose when you've got ferocious midsummer temperatures, an air-conditioned pool room is a good place to be.
Yeah, the World 8-ball and World 9-ball championships are now held in the Middle East. The 9-ball in Qatar and the 8-ball in Fujairah, one of the Arab Emirates.
Well, after the wasteful loss of the previous rack, that was an emphatic response from Omar Al-Shaheen. A good safety to get in, and then he cleared up nicely. 6-4, he's not out of this yet.
Welcome back to the ClubWPT.com World Pool Masters from Kielce in Poland. Nick van den Berg with a nice run out in rack 11, and he is now just one rack away from securing a semi-final spot.
Rack 12, Nick van den Berg to break, leading by 7 racks to 4.
We're here in Kielce in Poland, in the middle of the Holy Cross Mountains. And Nick van den Berg is hoping that the effectiveness of his break is going to peak with this one.
And the 2-ball peeks out. Window of opportunity. The sort of shot I hated when I used to play on a TV table, because the cloth is so quick. You have to hit it soft. A lot of angle. But Nick has a nice touch on these shots.
Look at those 6 balls, Alex, all in a diagonal line, begging to be potted.
All depends on this first shot, just like the 2-ball as an opener in the previous rack. Soft spin. 1.5 tip of left English.
Applause, but this is a tester. A test of cueing, a test of temperament. A test, basically, of nerve.
Preparing the stroking arm. Visualizing the 3-ball going in the pocket. Now execute.
It was a hurried stroke, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looked like it. What I don't envy, Phil, and I will say this, as a professional player, many players, not all, but many players, are worried about their game, their technique. You're always worrying about your form. And when you're in form, you're worried about losing it. So it's an ongoing process. It never stops. We saw Nick in his chair thinking about how he missed that shot the way he did. Great strike here by Omar.
Yes, a thundering pot from the Kuwaiti right into the heart of the pocket. And now you have to think, does the comeback begin here? The whole tournament has been categorised by matches that could have gone one-sided, but in the end have been quite close.
Now for comfort, for pocketing comfort, he wants to go 2 rails around the 8-9 and leave himself an angle on the 6. Forcing position on the left side of the 6, rolling it with reverse English, makes the shot much harder. Still, a lot of angle, but he has room now to stroke the ball. He has room to let that cue ball go around the table. Four rails for position.
And the 6 will pass the 9. It's the second time he's missed the 6 in the match. Did so in rack 8 when he'd won 3 in succession from 4-0 down. The 6 he missed then was a little easier than that. Still though, it came as a surprise. Now Nick van den Berg asking the referee Michaela Tab, does he have an extension left? The answer was yes, and so he's taking it.
Nick will not soft roll this shot. He will punch it. He can play stun and go 2 rails. Long, short rail coming in towards the 7. Or he can draw it into the short rail and coming back to center table.
Remember, only 4 pots away from his target. Progress.
3 rails around the 7. Yeah, that's it. Shaheen van Boning getting ready for his match with Wojtek Szewczak. And the shot, Nicky, that was Tony Drago somewhere here watching the match. In the tournament or out the tournament, Tony Drago is always there sweating the action.
It's looking bleak now for Omar Al-Shaheen. This has been a wonderful experience for him. I think the organisers, Matchroom Sport, should be applauded for giving him an invitation into the tournament. Anything that bolsters pool in certain areas of the world has to be applauded. He needs experience. He will have gained plenty from this. But in many respects, it will be, in the end, a bitter experience because he had his chances. And now it looks as though he's going to be vanquished. Indeed, that is the case. The Dutchman doubles up on Omar Al-Shaheen. In the end, the final score, 8-4 for Nick van den Berg. The quarterfinals of the club WPT.com World Pool Masters beckon. The defending champion, Ralph Souquet, already out. An interesting mix of results. 2 poles already into the quarterfinals. And next up at the Club WPT.com World Pool Masters, a potential David versus Goliath affair. It's Karel Skaversky from right here in the city of Kielce up against Shaheen van Boning. recognised as the leading player from a country most readily associated with the sport of pool, the United States of America.
I went up 4-0 pretty quick and he fired back 4-3. I made one mistake from 4-0 and he made 4-3. So that was very disappointing to have a good lead and then one mistake and you're up 4-3 only. But I managed from his mistakes, I managed to get a lead again. And luckily for me, he missed a few balls. But I still think I played pretty good. But I was very tense, very tight. I missed a few shots, I think maybe 2, because I was too tight. So let's loosen up for the next match and show what I can.